Hey guys, welcome back to the 7 Footers podcast. As usual, Jenna,
Jarod,
and we are here to give you guys the best hot topics of the week in NBA. We're in the midst of the finals.
We are. Well, not quite.
Going to the conference finals.
Getting close. We're getting close.
Getting close.
Thanks you guys for watching last week.
Yes.
Please continue and subscribe to our YouTube page. Just so you know, we're going to be recording these on Wednesday nights usually, and then the video will go up on Thursday morning. So generally there'll be a game on, like tonight perhaps, there'll be the Celtics and the Sixers, game 5 of that series. So just so you know, that's how we're going to be doing these. And please leave comments below, etc. But Jenna, let's get started.
Yes, let's jump right into it. We're going to start with the Western Conference right now. This past week, we had the Warriors dominating the Pelicans. Now, in the Western Conference, we had 2 player go home big games, all right? So let's talk about the Warriors and Pelicans. The Warriors win 113-104. We have KD, Clay, and Steph combining for 75 points, 19 rebounds, and 18 assists.
All the stats, Jenna.
All the stats. You know we got that for you guys. All right, we have them doing incredible things on the floor. Steph Curry's back like he never left. What are your thoughts on this game?
You know, it was a great performance by Steph, by Clay, by KD, Draymond, everybody. The entire, teams really played well, and they really had a focus from the outset. And it's getting us to the point now where the Warriors are starting to round into shape. They started the world famous Hamptons 5 lineup.
The Hamptons,
the four players who went to the Hamptons 2 years ago to recruit Kevin Durant.
That's a great story.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But Steve Kerr, you won't hear him saying the Hampton 5.
He won't. Tim Kawakami, shout out to him of the Athletic San Francisco. He was the one that came up with that nickname, and it was Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Those 4 guys went out to the Hamptons a couple years ago to recruit Kevin Durant, and he makes the 5th player. And that lineup, when they are on the floor, is a nightmare offensively and defensively.
Finally, Steve Kerr went with his best 5.
Yeah.
He takes JaVale McGee off the floor, starts with Andre Iguodala, and look what happens. We close out the
part of the problem why Kerr didn't want to go to that lineup too early was because it messes up the bench rotations for the rest of the game.
True.
And it's sort of like a feather in the cap or an ace in the hole, right? When we're really down, I can bust this lineup out. So starting the game with that lineup, what happens is your rotations for the rest of the game are a little bit different than what he would normally have. But still, again, that is their best lineup offensively and, more importantly, defensively. They totally shut the Pelicans out when they were on the floor. Their offensive rating was off the charts, defensive rating off the charts. Their net rating was phenomenal.
Incredible. All around.
When that unit is clicking on all cylinders, they are
Watch out.
a really difficult team to beat.
Out.
There's a reason why everyone's calling them a dynasty and why they could have this.
And they got their mojo back, I think I saw online over the past week. But, we can't, yes, the Pelicans are gone right now, but let's talk about Jrue Holiday. First ever career triple-double.
Yeah.
We had Draymond Green, who flirted with the triple-double.
Yeah.
I think it was like one assist shy. But Jrue Holiday, shout out. What a good game.
Jrue really had a great playoffs, really.
Exactly.
Starting in the first round against OKC. Is that who they played in the first round?
I believe so. We're so far.
No. Utah played OKC in the first round.
We were just talking about
that. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because he had a show-out performance.
Jrue really stepped his game up.
Yes, he
did. If you know the story about Jrue Holiday, it's been a rough couple of years for him. His wife, Lauren Holiday, former U.S. women's national team soccer player, when she was pregnant, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So there was a lot of things going on with his family and his personal life. And look, one of the things that we need to remember is these guys are human beings, right? And so when their home lives are impacted, it's going to cause problems on the court. And then he was also injured at the same time, so there were things taking him away from where he wanted to be. He is now back. Lauren's great, the baby's great, everyone's doing well, and he's now able to focus. And Jrue, again,
do what he does best.
He offensively, defensively, he was incredible. Now, I will say, Alvin Gentry, because they had no other options. Well, they had other options, but it really wouldn't have worked out. They put Jrue Holiday on Kevin Durant in a lot of this series, and that's sort of...
Well, it doesn't really work out 99% of the time.
That not really a recipe for success. You have a 6'4" guard on a 7-foot wing player. Just no.
It's not, no.
And really, it doesn't matter because we saw in Game 3 particularly, even when they put Anthony Davis on Kevin Durant, it didn't really matter. No. Kevin Durant's that type of player who there really is no defense solve, much like LeBron. Like, it doesn't matter who you put on him. They're going to get theirs regardless.
They're going to get shut down either way.
So it doesn't really matter defensively what you do to them.
Exactly.
The thing is, can you make them work harder for their points and to get their teammates involved, etc. And really, we saw it in Game 4. New Orleans went with the hard double on Durant every time he caught the ball in the post. But he got the ball out quickly to Draymond, the Steph to Clay, and they got wide open shooters.
And then, speaking of that, we have the recent story that came out with Draymond sending the text late night to KD. I need you to be more aggressive. He's up at 4 a.m., shoots in the text. Obviously, it's man-to-man, friend-to-friend. But KD stepped it up. He didn't take it as harsh criticism. He went on the floor. He pounded the boards. He was all over the place. His speed was quicker. He was all around better.
One of the interesting things about Kevin Durant, who is one of my favorite players in the league, if not my favorite player in the league,
we know,
is that the criticism that you can have of him is that sometimes, and I feel like it's because the game is so easy for him sometimes, he sleepwalks and lulls through games sometimes. And you're like, Kevin, are you here? Like, where are you? Like, are you on the court right now? And especially defensively, he's just not engaged sometimes. Like, he's off in another world. And that wasn't the case in Game 3 or in Game 4. He really, cranked it up for them on both ends of the floor. And again, when he's engaged, in particular defensively for this team, I mean, between him and Draymond, again, that's problematic for the other team.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up this game, like we said, the Warriors overtook the Pelicans, knocked them out in the second round. We have a 113-104 final score. We have to say one more thing about the Warriors, and I don't want to get this wrong. Steph Curry, third in the NBA history for threes, 326 in only 78 playoff games. He's shooting deep range threes. It's no surprise he's the best shooter in the league, if not of all time. But wow.
Yeah, I mean, look, the league has changed, right? I mean, it only took him 70-something games to get to this point in his career, and he'll of course have the all-time record once it's all said and done. It's just the amount of threes he's taking. I mean, Steph averages somewhere between 6 and 8 threes a game, if not more, right? So I mean, it's just different, right? Guys just take 3 or 4 at most in a game. That's a normal day for him shooting that many threes. And if he's really feeling it, he might take 12. Right? So I mean,
I had a slow day, knocked down 8 triples.
That's just how it goes, and it's just the way in which the league works out. Because the math tells us 3 is worth more than 2. So I mean, that's how.
Can't argue that.
Can't argue that. That's how we go.
All right, moving on. Still in the Western Conference, the Rockets versus the Jazz. The Rockets knock out the Jazz and Donovan Mitchell, 112-102. And we have to go back to Chris Paul's post-game interview in Game 4, where he said, I'm not making any moves. SHIT happens real quick. Well, SHIT did not happen in this game. They pulled the W over the Jazz. And Chris Paul with 41 points.
10 assists, no turnovers.
Game. No turnovers. Stellar game, and James Harden was feeling under the weather and still pulled out the W.
Listen, we talked about the Rockets last week and how I said that they are the one team capable of actually beating the Warriors. I wrote about this earlier on BSL, you can find me there as well, about how the Rockets are, I think, an incredible team just top to bottom, and the way they are constructed in terms of how they can defend and how they can score offensively with and even greater than the Warriors. Daryl Morey, the Rockets GM, has been on record saying forever that he is obsessed with beating the Warriors. And in order
at this point?
In order to get to that point to beat the Warriors, it had to be about how are we going to navigate to the playoffs? How are we going to beat the Jazz? Which they did, and that was the reason they got Chris Paul in the first place, right? James Harden under the weather, not feeling well in Game 5, and it didn't matter, right? Because you were able to have Paul step up and be humongous. I mean, every time he came off a screen and hit the middle part of the court, that mid-range jumper was wet. Every time. I don't think he might have missed 1 or 2 if I remember correctly, but he was unreal in the mid-range. And the Jazz had no answer for him. Gobert would come out, would be kind of in no man's land. I don't know what to do. Didn't matter who they had. And on the switch, Paul literally said, we are not losing this game. We're going to win it. His last 2 games against the Jazz, 22 assists combined, only 1 turnover.
1 turnover, which is incredible. He's 33 years old, just turned 33.
Yeah.
And big congrats to him.
His first conference finals.
Conference finals. I'm sorry, but we were talking about this before.
Yeah.
There is not, I mean, you know, a lot of basketball fans you go up to and ask them, hey, how many conference finals has Chris Paul been to? You bet you'll stump them because he's too good to have not gone to a conference finals at this point. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
I told you I was emotional.
You were very
I'm so
emotional.
glad he got away from the Clippers, you know, no bad blood, but
Listen,
you know.
you know, narratives are a thing that exists in the world, and sports is no different. And the narrative about Chris Paul forever was postseason choker, this guy doesn't bring it when it counts. Look, and I said this on Twitter last night. You can follow me at JS Hector on Twitter as well.
Plug today.
You know, it's oversimplification to say, oh, this guy stinks in the playoffs, this guy's good. There's so many more factors to it than that. There really only have been 2 series in Chris Paul's career where you could say, okay, he underperformed in the postseason. The series against Oklahoma City Thunder where they were up and lost, and the 1 Spurs series, okay, when he was, again, a member of the Clippers. But if you look at his numbers, even back into the time when he was a member of the then New Orleans Hornets, his playoff numbers...
Throwback Thursday.
His playoff numbers are great. And those Clippers years, Blake was hurt almost all the time.
Exactly.
So it's not so much does Chris stink in the playoffs, there are a lot of other mitigating factors. And 2, almost every superstar in the playoffs sees a decrease in their numbers.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is the playoffs are different than regular season basketball. Newsflash, fans. Yes. Right?
Yes, we had a long conversation about that, which we won't, you know.
You have time to scout, to play. You have 1, often 2 days rest in between, and guys' intensity are cranked up at another level.
Exactly.
So it's much different. It's a very different game.
Yeah.
So there's just something that people should know.
Yeah.
Now, fans, don't come at me because I know what you're thinking. Not every superstar declines in the playoffs. Yes, we know LeBron James' PER does increase in the postseason, but that is LeBron James, okay? Like, he is a different...
He's just a different...
Yeah, he is a different bird in comparison to everybody else.
Yes.
But I will say, despite his PER increasing, LeBron's three-point shooting does decrease in the postseason.
But
so, just put that out there.
He's been good. We'll get to LeBron. We're still in the Western Conference talk. And before we wrap up the Western Conference talk, we need to talk about Rookie of the Year candidate Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yes, the Jazz lost, but nobody can sit here and say he did not carry them through the entire postseason. Sure. He knocked down, what was it, 20-some points in the third quarter alone.
Yeah. In Game 5, in the elimination game for them, he came and he brought it.
He brought it, and he definitely upped his ranking on the Rookie of the Year status, which I am still with you, Ben. I am still with you, Ben, in case you ever see this. But Donovan Mitchell, I have all respect for him.
No, listen, I mean,
incredible player.
What he was asked to do for the Jazz this year.
You're a rookie.
As a rookie.
With that on your shoulders.
Incredible. And again.
With such poise.
As I just mentioned, though, as we saw with Donovan, his percentages dipped in the postseason also.
Yeah.
Again, because when defenses can key in on what you do well, it's not as easy as it is on, again, a random Wednesday night in Milwaukee or in Orlando to just go nuts and...
Not to mention Donovan Mitchell and every other rookie, Jason Tatum, everyone that's on the floor in their first postseason ever.
Right.
You're on the floor as a rookie. You've never been through this mentally. And like we were saying, they're human. You've never played against LeBron, KD, Steph. Until you get on that floor with them in the postseason and really familiarize yourself, you don't know. These rookies are going through a first. And not that that's an excuse, but the poise that they're handling with, the maturity.
It's just reality, you know? And we'll talk about it later when we get to the Eastern Conference and the Sixers. But it's like the pressure cooker, right?
Yep.
As that heat increases, it's the first time you've experienced that. Even if you played NCAA basketball, you went to the Final Four or whatever, NBA playoffs is different, right? This is the best basketball league in the world, and you're playing against the best talent in the world.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a little bit harder than it was in Game 28 of the regular season.
No doubt. And just a side note, too, Donovan Mitchell said that he is going to go back during the summer and watch all 91 of his games.
Nice. To
prepare. Now that's a good guy. That's a good guy.
That rookie's got moxie, man.
Yep.
I mean, we saw the cameras caught him after Game 4 talking spicy about James Harden. If that's what he needs to get the MVP, then F it. I don't want to say what he said. But listen, I love it, man. This is a grown man's league. Okay, like you got to bring it.
Oh, yep.
And I love the fact that Mitchell went for it, and him and CP had a great moment at the end of Game 5. It's because Mitchell did hurt himself in the fourth quarter.
Left foot, yeah.
Hopefully
came back
okay
negative.
there.
He's going to be reevaluated.
Excellent. So hopefully he'll be fine, and he'll be all set this summer to resume his work and come back strong next year. But look, a great series by the Utah Jazz. The future's bright there. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. They got some great guys. The question is, what can Quinn and what can that front office do going forward to bring pieces around him to get them even better to move forward? Because the West is not going to get worse. It's just going to get better going forward.
Absolutely.
So, how do we continue to move forward with that?
Exactly, and I think it's safe to say that most likely all of these guys' summer workouts that have been eliminated are going to change. They're going to amp up, especially for these rookies who are now coming out of their first postseason. They're reflecting. They're learning these lessons. They're talking to, their veterans on their teams.
You assess and you know what you got to work on, and you get to work. Go to the lab.
Exactly. And while we wrap up the Western Conference, we have the Warriors and the Rockets scheduled to play
the series we've all been waiting for.
Scheduled to play on Monday, and you can catch that on NBA on TNT.
That's right. We're excited.
We're very excited.
I think it's the best series that we're going to see in quite some time.
A lot of people have been waiting for this one, so it's going to be fire.
Fire for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I think key for the Rockets defensively, what people aren't looking at is what the Rockets have done defensively, and Clint Capella has been humongous.
Clint Capella owns the paint. You liked my tweet the other night. Clint Capella owns the paint.
He's fantastic, and he's huge. It really is a three-headed monster, right?
Yes.
It's Harden, it's CP, and it's Clint Capella. And the other pieces that are going to matter defensively are going to be PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Luke Richard, and Bamute. Those guys are key because when Golden State runs their split cut, their side cut, and their multiple third and fourth actions, and you're switching, can everybody know where their assignment's supposed to be and match up and find their guy, right?
Keep up the momentum, keep up the speed.
All of that. And also the chess match between Kerr and D'Antoni and Chris Paul, right? Because this is going to be, in many ways, I think, a Chris Paul series. Harden's going to do Harden things, but when Harden's off the floor and it's Chris Paul's the point guard, right?
Yep.
What is he going to be doing in his mind? Okay, how do I get myself on the floor to get to the best spots and create mismatches?
Yep.
And then, of course, for the Warriors, we know Steph, we know Clay, we know Draymond.
Deep threes.
All of that, the off-ball cutting, the action. What makes Golden State so literally difficult to beat is, what do you do about that 7-foot sniper wingman? Who is guarding him?
Honestly, I think everybody just goes in and is like, you know what, everybody take a shot, let's figure it out.
What are you doing with Kevin Durant is the question.
Well, that is the question.
Right?
On to the Eastern Conference, my personal favorite conference.
We do kind of have a little bit of a dynamic here. I'm a Western Conference guy.
I'm an Eastern Conference girl, so this is my beat, this is my flavor. Here we go.
Let's do it.
We have to start with my Cavs pulling the W over the Raptors at home, closing out the series, beating them, embarrassing them. It's a disgrace. 128-93. It got bad. Like, if this was the MLB, we would have been out of here real early with that 10-run rule, okay? Let's just start here. LeBron James.
I mean, isn't that always where we start and middle and end? I mean, what?
Continues to pound the Raptors year after year into the ground. 29 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, and the fadeaway jumpers. The fadeaway jumpers.
I mean, he was toying with them.
At one point, he actually went threw a lob pass. I was like, well, let's see where this one goes. Maybe Zuri.
LeBron's fadeaways, like, I think he jumps out of the screen. You can't even see him.
The camera can't catch him. You're like, all right, guys, how we develop a lens that catches LeBron James?
I mean, what can we say? He's the best player in the world. I mean, and he owns the Toronto Raptors. I mean, owns them.
Actually, he might have a stake in the Toronto.
And fans, if you remember, last week, I did say, after game 1, the series was over.
7-Footers fans, he did say that. I hate to admit when he's right. I really do.
I'm right often about these things, though. No, seriously, though, but he's just so good. And
it was scary, though.
The Raptors, he's in their head, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
all these people are like, oh, he's not.
He knows it, and they know it. And the reason why I said game 1 was so critical is, again, because of the Cavaliers coming off of that 7-game series. They were exhausted
Oh, yeah.
Exhausted.
You could tell, even LeBron was exhausted.
But that was the Raptors' opportunity to literally punch them in the mouth.
Missed opportunities, missed everything. What were you guys doing?
And then game 2, okay, they lose that one down, and then game 3, the running lefty going out of bounds, bank shot, game winner.
It's no disrespect, but it's funny at this point.
And then game 4, the elimination game, the deciding game, the Raps didn't even show up in that game.
No, DeMar DeRozan actually didn't show up in the 4th because he got ejected in the 3rd. Flagrant 2, Jordan Clarkson goes down for the quick layup, basically catches him in the eye, knocks his contact out. Jordan Clarkson can't see. Like, DeMar DeRozan is ejected, and then that's just it. I think Kyle Lowry sat on the bench just like...
DeMar was probably already in Cancun at that point.
DeMar
right?
done.
Nice. I see you did there. DeMar, and this is a larger commentary on the Raptors. Look, there's no shame in losing to the greatest player in the world.
No.
But the way in which they lost, I think there is shame, right?
Yeah.
The game 3, the game 4, just the effort. And it was just problematic, particularly game 4. Guys, there was nothing there. And, is the roster in Toronto flawed? Yes.
Oh, of course.
But they were the number 1 seed in the East this year.
And there were lessons to be learned from the first few games. It's like failing an open book test at this point. It's like you had an opportunity, you wasted it. You learned your lessons after the first few games. I'm at a loss for words. And here, I'm just going to ask you this. Does this mean now we need to come back to Toronto in the summer, reevaluate? Do we need to move players around? Do we need to split up the best backcourt in the league?
Quotes, because they're not the
That's why I stuck them in there. But I'm just saying, a lot of people were dubbing them Lowry and DeRozan as the best backcourt in the league. But I don't know.
Okay, so again, we're recording this on a Wednesday. It's going to go up sometime on Thursday.
Yeah.
So Masai Ujiri, the president of the Raptors, had his sort of end-of-season presser today, and they're running it back again next year. They're going to try to retool the roster, get some other guys around, and run it back again with DeMar and with Kyle Lowry. Here's the problem.
Tell me the problem.
They're locked into, contract-wise, with Kyle and DeMar and Serge Ibaka till the 2019-2020 season.
Exactly.
And between the 3 of them, the amount of money that's locked up, I don't know who is a viable trade partner. Like, yeah, I want that contract. I want DeMar DeRozan, a wing player who doesn't shoot threes very well and who pooped the bed in this postseason, let's be honest.
He got the SHIT that Chris Paul was having.
It wasn't. DeMar was not good in this series at all.
It's safe to say. They got stomped on, trampled on by LeBron and his what did they call him? His backup or his backup?
Yeah.
Because at first he was kind of carrying everybody, and then the backup squad came back.
Kevin Love. Welcome back to the playoffs, Kevin Love.
Hey! It took us a minute. Kevin Love dropped 23. He was raining threes in the closeout game of the second round.
Listen, Kevin Love, Minnesota Kevin Love. None of fans remember Minnesota Kevin Love. That was an all-NBA. 20-something points, 12 plus. This guy was incredible.
Yep. Here's the thing with Kevin Love, and this is completely my opinion, but I think that a lot of people will agree with me. Let us know. Kevin Love, how can I put this? He was, his speed clock was at like a 2 out of a 10 all postseason, and then in this past closeout game, Kevin Love, he turned it up.
Here's what I will say about Kevin
Love.
SNL
really made them mad.
Here's what I will say about Kevin Love. One, it is difficult to play with LeBron James.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes,
it is particularly.
I act like I'm on the two.
As much as you are going to reap a lot of rewards and win a lot of games, it is very difficult.
Well, they said that he had the Chris Bosh syndrome.
Right, and Kevin Love, is an excellent player.
Yes.
Also, Ty Lue was not using Kevin correctly a lot of times. Right.
Amen.
You've got a guy who is the league's best outlet passer. An incredible rebounder, can operate out of the... you could run so many actions with him, starting the ball in the post, running him off, coming in, having shooting threes. There's so many different things you can do with Kevin Love that often gets lost because LeBron James is this vortex that just... everything just gets sucked
Kevin,
in.
come on in.
Right? It's just,
JR, come on.
Right? And listen, as it should be because he is the guy. But you need to figure out how do I maximize a guy like Kevin Love.
How to maximize all of your talent and incorporate them in with LeBron.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Exactly
and
right.
Let's talk about here really quick, Rodney Hood landing on the bad side of the press.
Listen, Rodney.
Tell us what happened, Jarod. Tell us what happened.
So Rodney refused to go back into the game late, and look, whatever that situation is, I don't know. Rodney, I guess, was upset about his minutes. Here's the thing.
Don't throw a fit when you're closing out the second round and you're
stop.
up by 30.
Just stop it. Like, if the coach is putting you in there, you go in. Like, that's just how that goes. Like, I get it, Rodney. You, in your mind, you thought your role on this team was much different than what it is. But listen, homeboy, this is the playoffs, okay?
Exactly. We ain't playing your games.
Right. We don't play games in the playoffs.
And again, with all due respect, but it was like, Rodney Hood, you're throwing a fit and a temper tantrum on the sidelines. You're up by 30. You're about to close out the series. Get your head in the game. We have a big game next week.
There's bigger things than you, Rodney Hood, going on right now. And for LeBron, and this is why it's difficult when you play with LeBron, LeBron's all about championships.
Yes.
So he is going to roll in the playoffs with dudes he's been to war with. Rodney Hood, he don't know you like that.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's a problem, not a problem, but a potential problem for the Cavs going forward in the postseason. Right. They still are getting to know each other. Yes, they have their core roster. You have your Kevin Loves, your Tristan Thompsons. We got it. But, then you have the newcomers. You know what I mean? You have Larry Nance Jr., who, he was hot when he was in there.
Except he's out of the rotation now.
I know,
Look, here's where we are right now.
And then you have Jordan Clarkson, we're still incorporating.
Here's where we are with the Cavaliers right now and this roster. The sweep was the best thing to happen for them. It was going to give LeBron and those guys a ton of rest.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because
5 days rest.
Ty Lue not going deep into that bench.
No.
He's just not.
No.
Coach LeBron is letting him know, hey man, 6-7 deep max.
LeBron, 1 day of rest. Ty, so listen, let's talk about this.
Exactly.
We have 4 more days left, man.
Clarkson, Rodney Hood, we're not really rolling with them dudes.
And you know what, though? Again, with all due respect, they should know this. It's the Cavs. We're in the postseason. You're in LeBron's world.
They're trying to win a chip. LeBron's trying to win a chip.
This is LeBron's world. We're all living in it.
Just squirrels trying to get a nut.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Alrighty, let's move on. Still in the Eastern Conference, we have the Sixers still staying alive.
Staying alive.
Right now.
The baby Sixers on behind us right now.
Behind us, Sixers staying alive. Win over the C's 103-92. Taking it back to Boston tonight, right behind us. And Ben Simmons finally stopped thinking a lot. And knocked down 19 points, 13
rebounds,
and 5 assists.
We're
back, Ben. Or as I like to call Ben Baby.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So wait, you got Kyrie and Ben now? Like who?
Yes, we'll have to do a separate
a ranking of your NBA band. Yeah, Kyrie, Ben Simmons. Who else is on that list?
Oh my gosh, who isn't on that list? It's Donovan Mitchell. We already went over him.
Lord have mercy.
And we have Joel Embiid dropping 15 points, 13 rebounds. The boys were back.
They were.
We stayed alive, and now we're in Boston.
Listen, kudos to the baby Sixers. I'm happy that they were.
I love how you call them the baby sister.
Because they are the baby Sixers. I mean, let's be honest.
They are.
Right? I mean, JJ Redick and Bellinelli. Those are the only guys that really have playoff experience on that team.
Being your
those guys are young,
veterans.
And I think, and I'm guilty of this too. We all got a little too gassed on the Sixers this year.
Yes, we did.
They ran off the end of that regular season. And they really fattened their record up against not very good competition, okay? And
they had an easy end of the regular season.
And we discussed regular season and playoffs, very different, okay?
Different ball
Not to mention, too, this is the most basketball Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have played in their entire careers.
Yep.
And you're seeing little bits of it escape out in the games, right? Embiid's conditioning is not where it's going to be when he is fully ready.
He's walking back on defense. Yeah. He is showing that he's moving slow. And I'm sorry, but your competition is going to take advantage of that. Oh, Embiid's going to walk back every time? All right, I'm going to swoop right past him.
And he's turning the ball over.
Exactly.
He's not quick into his moves on offense.
Exactly.
And look, you got to remember, Joel is getting to the point where he's going to be. He's not anywhere near what he's going to be. Neither is
Oh,
Ben. The
no.
two of them are going to be vying for league MVP, best player in the world at some level. They're not there yet.
No.
And I think we're seeing it being exposed by Boston now. Because look at a guy like Al Horford, right?
Al Horford, by the way.
Al Horford, who his stat line isn't going to blow anybody away. But people like us who watch basketball know. Is Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons' ceiling greater than Al Horford? Of course. But today, Al Horford is a better basketball player than Embiid and Simmons because Al knows exactly where he has to be at all times, knows what your weaknesses are, knows what your strengths are. He just gets it.
His experience, his IQ is higher right now, and that all comes with time and experience.
It's just time and experience.
And like we were talking about in the Western Conference clip, it's all about these rookies. This is their first time.
Yes, it's their first experience.
And again, it's not an excuse, but it is an excuse when it comes to mentality and it comes to your speed and your skills on the floor.
Exactly.
You're just not.
And crunch time. You're not ready. You just because your brains have not fully computed the pressure cooker situation of being this.
Exactly.
And the NBA history has shown us this since the beginning of time. Young teams don't all of a sudden come out of nowhere and go to the championship. They got to take their lumps along the way. And whether or not Philly advances past tonight, wins this series, who knows? They're not winning the title this year. We know that. This is going to be a learning experience. And what do Ben and Joel do in the offseason with their games, with their bodies, with their conditioning to get ready to come back next season? Because they're clearly good enough to make the playoffs. We know that. The question is, going forward, how do they improve? And if LeBron stays in the East, what are the things they have to do to get better to move themselves past Cleveland and LeBron?
Okay, so did you just answer my question? Can the 76ers become the first NBA team in history to overcome a 3-0 playoff deficit?
It's going to, listen, I don't like to say never. You should never say never. Anything is possible. It's highly unlikely. Okay. I will say this. If they win tonight, Boston going to be nervous going back to Philly for Game 6. I will say that.
As they should. The process fans don't mess around.
But listen, Philly's going to be a raucous environment. And again, if Philly manages to win tonight and force a Game 6, they're playing. First of all, they're playing with house money now anyway. They're really playing with house money, right?
Yes.
Boston's the one who thinks, hey, we were up 3-0. Hey, they had this whole mentality. We can do this without Kyrie, without Gordy, without. Okay, cool. Let's see what you got.
And the thing is, Brad is a man with a plan.
Brad is a man with a plan.
But before we get to Brad, because I know you want to talk about Brad, we have to talk about TJ McConnell.
Great game.
TJ McConnell.
Great game.
Okay, we're talking 19.7 rebounds, 5 assists. He came out of the dang woodwork.
Yeah.
That he just came out and was like, let me do this.
Great move by Brett putting him in, and they needed him to be honest. Because here's the thing about Simmons, your boy, baby Ben, that is problematic right now in his career.
Okay.
When Ben comes off of a pick or a screen or anything, he's just not shooting.
Yeah.
And
he's giving it up real quick.
And that is problematic.
Yes.
Because defensively, it makes it very easy to guard.
Do you think it's confidence that he's not shooting the ball? Do you think it's...
I do, because he knows he's probably not going to make it. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're not going to make it. You have to at least shoot it, so they have to at least come out. And
get the defender, come out, shoot it real quick, shoot it off quick, get out.
They're not even doing that because we know he's going to try to pass.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And you always know it. And then you get so excited and the climactic moment just doesn't happen. Everybody's like, okay, now, like you said.
So in his offseason, he needs to work on that. So TJ being in the game was huge because whether TJ would make the shot or not is irrelevant. TJ was not going to not shoot coming off when he had airspace.
Exactly.
And that changes what the defense does on the other end. They now have to say, okay, this guy's a threat to shoot.
Yes.
See, Ben is not even a threat to shoot.
No.
That is what makes them easy to defend. And also, the Sixers offense, and this is something that Brett Brown, I'm sure, in the offseason will work on, their offense becomes easy and simplistic to guard, right? You come off, or you dump it into Embiid, he's slow going to his move, there's no off-ball action. Well,
yeah.
Axiom that anybody who watches basketball, any coaches know. You know what's easy to defend? When guys are crammed into tight spaces and there's no ball movement or player movement. That is real easy to defend. You know what's hard to defend? Space and everyone moving and the ball moving. That's really hard to guard. And so it's simplistic, but when the Sixers add other elements into their offense, Brett Brown's a great coach, which I believe he will do, when Ben gets confidence in his jumper, and look, I'm not saying he's going to be a 40% three-point shooter. Get a decent 12-footer.
That's it. Just do a quick little jumper.
Right? A jump hook.
Help us out.
Something.
Yeah.
I'm not right. I have no illusions he's going to be some 40-something% three-point shooter.
Hey,
he does that. He's going to become the greatest player in the league. But all I'm saying is, when you come off that screen, off that pick, shoot it. Be a threat to shoot it.
Absolutely.
Get a 10, 12, 13-footer working.
And these are just more lessons upon more lessons that we
Yes.
need to learn over the summer. We need to come back stronger than ever.
Absolutely.
And then this goes for every rookie, every team that's struggling.
It's not only rookies, though, before we go on. Every great player, that's what they do. In the summertime,
need to learn that.
They work on something and bring something new back in their bag coming the next season.
Exactly.
LeBron, KD, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, the greats of all time. Mm-hmm. The summertime wasn't, all right, we're just going to chill out and hang out.
Not anymore.
We're working and we're going to add something to our game.
Exactly. Now that these guys, veterans and young guys, they know what's at stake. They're learning their lessons. I mean, if there was any lesson, it's the Raptors. So
Yikes.
Everybody needs to go back to school this summer.
Yikes.
So let's really quick talk about Brad Stevens before we wrap up the Eastern Conference recap.
So let's just assume it's going to be Celtics and Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Brad Stevens is going to be going up against LeBron James. You know, Brad Stevens is universally lauded as the best coach in the NBA, and
that talk is just generating though.
And it's getting a lot of.
That's what I mean. It's getting a lot of.
And I'm just curious: have we ever had a situation where a man has never won an NBA championship, but is universally lauded as the best coach in the league? And here, to all Boston fans, do not come at me. I think Brad is incredible. His out-of-timeout plays, what he's able to do with the roster he has is incredible. But I want to actually get into that. Yes, he doesn't have Kyrie, he doesn't have Gordon Hayward. But Al Horford isn't a scrub.
No.
Jason Tatum isn't a scrub. Jaylen Brown isn't a scrub. These guys aren't bad players. Yes, would that roster be better with Kyrie and Gordy? Obviously. But that roster's pretty good with those guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's not act like he's coaching 5 guys just running the local YMCA. Okay, it's not. Let's slow down with all that noise.
I hear you. He's got a lot of hype.
A lot of hype, and I wonder he's had a built-in excuse every year, right? So last year it was, well, that roster's just got IT, and IT was hurt. Okay, year before. They made it a year early. They weren't really quite ready to contend yet. They have no superstar on the roster. This year, it's Kyrie's hurt, Gordy's hurt. What happens next year, Jenna, when Kyrie's healthy, Gordy's healthy, and they don't win the title next year?
Hey, it's going to be the true test of Brad Stevens stepping up to the plate. And hey, depending on how their season goes next year, apparently a lot of coaches' jobs are on the line.
Look,
at this point.
Boston's not going to get rid of Brad.
I don't think they're going to get rid of Brad, but I think that, he's got a lot more pressure coming in next year.
I believe so.
It's going to tell
I believe so. This year he's got the excuse, so it's all house money. They don't win this year, doesn't matter. The two best players are out. Next year, when they're both healthy, and you've got Tatum and Brown and everybody.
And there's no excuse.
And they don't win the title next year.
Yeah.
Then what?
And let's just add, too, that IT, out of all the bad blood that came out of Boston, tweeted today in favor of Brad Stevens as
because the Coaches Association voted Dwayne Casey best coach of the year, and what made the thing interesting was Brad got 0 votes. So this is a vote from all the coaches voting for voting for the coach of the year. So all 30 NBA coaches, not one of them voted for Brad Stevens. I'm just going to say, there might be some jealousy there among the coaches.
Like somebody's throwing a petty party.
There might be some petty there on, again, this idea of, here's a guy who everyone just universally lauds, and it's like, but wait a minute, we all run a lot of the same stuff out of timeouts.
I have not seen, and this is just my opinion, I have not seen a better play caller at the end of the game in crunch time, clutch time, than Brad Stevens.
I think Brad is excellent out of timeouts, end of games, drawing up plays.
So those no votes, come on.
Listen, is there some petty going on there? Hashtag pettywop.
Yeah.
A lot of pettywop. A lot of pettywop going on there.
Yes.
Is Brad excellent? If he's not, listen, do I think he's the best coach in the league? I think Pop may have something to say about that. I think Carlisle's a pretty good X&O guy.
Yeah.
He's no worse than the 3rd best coach in the league. Yeah. Again, I'm just saying the universal acclaim that he is the best, hands down, no questions asked, let's slow down a little bit.
Let's pump the brakes back here.
That's all.
And we're going to put the brakes on this conversation and wrap up our Eastern Conference recap. So we will see you guys at the end of this game and see who will the Cavs take on.
Who knows?
The earliest they can play is Sunday, but I doubt they'll play Sunday. You never know.
Well, listen, it's all about the Sixers tonight.
Exactly.
Do the baby Sixers come up with it tonight? We'll know.
We shall see, and we'll let you know. We'll see you guys back here next week, and we'll see you in the next segment of Hot Topics.
Stay tuned.
Hey, 7-Footers crew, we are back with our last segment of the day, Hot Topics, which brings you all the hottest topics from the past week in the NBA. So let's get started. Let's start on a positive note. David Fizdale gets another job, right?
Congrats.
Right? Gets another job. He is the official New York Knicks head coach, and he actually sat down on Get Up today with Jalen Rose, and he said, quote unquote, he wants people to fear coming to the Garden again.
Wow.
And it shouldn't be like other teams are coming to a theatrical show in New York City. He wants people to fear coming into the Garden. What are our thoughts? Tell me everything, Jarod.
Well,
open up the floor here.
I'll tell you what. They ain't going to fear that roster in New York. I'll tell you that right now.
Wow, starting with the shots.
Look, I think Fizdale's a good coach. Hopefully he learned from some of the stuff that went down in Memphis.
Which, in my opinion, I'm sorry you shouldn't have lost this job.
Listen.
Memphis has a lot more problems than David.
They do, and, Marc Gasol was part of the problem there, but we're not going to get into that. But look, coaches learn, they get better. I think Fizdale's a good guy. I think he's a good coach. I'm curious to see what he does. But here's really what matters when it comes to coaching in the NBA. What is his ownership and general manager structure like?
What is the relationship?
Owner, GM, coach. That has got to be a nice symbiotic relationship. The best teams in the league, it works well. Look at Golden State. Even as dysfunctional as Cleveland is, there's some level of cohesion there.
Yeah.
But they also have the greatest player in the world. So that makes up for any deficiencies that they have, right? You look at Dallas, even though they're not playing well right now. Cuban, Carlisle,
good relationship.
You've got to have a nice relationship between owner, front office, and head coach. How much is owner James Dolan and yes man GM Steve Mills going to allow Fizdale to do?
Well,
that's the question. So if I'm a Knicks fan, this is what I'm concerned about. Okay, I like the Fizdale hire. Are they going to let me do what I want from a cultural standpoint? Is Steve Mills actually a GM with any real power? Or is James Dolan still going to be meddling and doing his thing behind the scenes?
We obviously have to wait and see what happens. But David Fizdale seems like after everything he went through in Memphis, I don't think he would take a job where he thought he would be, in another terrible situation.
Look, I hope not.
Yeah.
And
everybody wants to see him prosper.
I joked about the roster, but look, Porzingis is good. He's coming off injury, so hopefully he comes back and he improves. Frankie Lakina, listen, they've got guys. Moutier. Look, there is talent on that roster. There are some contracts and some situations that they need to get up from under. Tim Hardaway Jr. But it is what it is. The other question is, how well are they going to draft? What are they going to do in free agency? I think this is going to be a very big free agent summer. Yes, none of the big names, but LeBron could move. I don't think he will, but that's a conversation for a different day. I don't think any of the big names are going to move, but there are a lot of other good guys that could be some possibilities. What do the Knicks do there? Because look, you're making the right move here or there. Fizdale coaches them up. I don't know. They stay healthy. Stranger things can happen. But look, I'm so conditioned being in this area, being from New York, to not hold my breath that they're going to do anything outstanding. I wish David Fizdale the best. We 7-footers, we hope you do well, David.
Yes, we do love David.
But we'll see. It's wait and see at this point.
And speaking of hiring and firing, our hot topic number 2, I think you guys could have guessed this one this week. Stan Van Gundy is out in Detroit.
Yeah.
Now let me just lay down the groundwork before I ask you what is next for him. We bring in Stan Van Gundy, right? We want him to make the Pistons contenders in the Eastern Conference. Well,
Well,
4 years later, we see one playoff appearance and 0 wins.
Yeah.
What's next for Stan Van Gundy?
He's going to join the booth with his brother Jeff on ABC on the ABC broadcast is what I think. No, I don't know. Look, what I think we're seeing is this idea of the coach-GM hybrid role that's going by the wayside. It's very hard to do that.
I don't even agree with it.
Those are 2 separate jobs.
Exactly.
You can't do both.
Do that? Yeah.
You can't.
No.
It's very hard. And a lot of those titles are being stripped away. I know Thibodeau has that currently in Minnesota, but we say, well, that's working out this year. Not great. Because a GM's job is very different than a coach's job. Yes, there's connection and symbiosis there, but you've got to be out scouting. You've got to be, and yes, there's scouting departments, and I get all that,
but you need to see it with your own
and you've got to have the intricacies of the salary cap. And how are you worried about that when you're day-to-day game planning for an NBA season and the playoffs, and well, not in Stan's case, no playoffs, but it's very difficult to do both. And, Detroit, sorry, but Stan's gone, but you got that rest of that Blake Griffin contract on the books. Yikes. That contract is a monster. And Blake, who has not been able to be healthy, and he's shown that throughout his career, what's that contract going to look like 2 years, a year from now, 2 years from now? I mean, they're in a world of trouble out in Detroit, and I just don't know where they go from here.
No.
I really don't.
I don't even have
that job's not even attractive. Who wants it?
I don't even have one good guess as to where we go.
I should take that back. People want it because there are only 30 NBA jobs. So yes, someone will take it.
Yes, but does their blood pressure want it?
It's going to be an uphill battle for whoever is the new coach and the new GM at that organization.
Exactly, and I think that's enough of Stan Van Gundy talk because nobody knows where he's going.
No.
So let's talk about it here on a lighter note.
Yeah.
Becky Hammon.
Yes.
Love her. Interviewing to be an NBA coach.
Yes.
For the Bucks.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I love it. Look, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt going around the last few days about should Becky have gotten an interview, what's the reasoning, all that. Amin Elhassan from ESPN, had some thoughts, and I'm one to I agree with what Amin's point was. There's no problem with Becky getting an interview. That's great. I think what people need to understand is, how do you know that Becky Hammon is going to be a good NBA head coach? Becky Hammon currently is what they call a second row assistant coach, right? So there's a first row of coaches, and there's that second row of coaches, right? Which is more player development, right? Warming the guys up pre-game, doing that sort of thing. Now, does she sit in on meetings and game plans and all that? Yes. But she hasn't quite got to the point yet where she is actually fully involved with the day-to-day game planning that a first-row assistant is.
Thrown into the fire.
Right, yes. Did she coach Summer League? Yes. Summer League is not NBA regular season.
Summer League is like a trip to the park.
Summer League,
like the playground, not the amusement park.
Summer League, very different.
The playground.
So I think everyone who's up in arms and outraged that if she doesn't get this job, it's more, calm down.
Yeah.
The fact that she's getting an interview, I think, is huge.
Incredible.
And going to move the needle forward. And here's what, honestly, I think is going to end up happening. We know that one of the Spurs assistants just got the head job in Orlando. So if he gets that job, he may take Becky with him to Orlando, which will then move her to the front row. Now she's involved in game planning and that sort of thing. And then she does that for a few years. When she interviews again for a head coaching job, which she will, then possibly she'll get it.
Well, a lot of people with Becky throw in the woman card. What can happen as a result if she doesn't get it, or if she doesn't get an interview and this and that. And as a woman myself, I get that. But like you said, it comes down to it. Can you be an NBA coach? And the facts that you're spitting out, it's true. Let her move to the front row. Give her a couple years right in the cutthroat pain of it. And then re-interview. And I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying for that side of the argument. You know what I mean? And as LeBron once said too, of course I'm quoting LeBron, if you know the game, do it.
That's
Man or woman. Man or woman.
She does know her basketball.
Yes.
Right? No
doubt about it.
But again,
San Antonio Stars.
Exactly. We need to see her do it now in the fire.
Yes.
Right? There's a difference. And again, shout out to Amin Elhassan from ESPN. For those of you caping for women, saying who has experience, if you're that concerned about women getting a job as a head coach in the NBA, what are your thoughts about Nancy Lieberman? If anyone should be a head coach in the NBA as a woman right now, who's already had coaching experience, who coached in the G League. It should be Nancy Lieberman, right? So I think it's just a rallying point for people to sometimes just go nuts and say, if she doesn't get it, it's because of this. Let's not think everything's a larger conspiracy. I think Becky Hammon will be an NBA head coach someday.
One day, I think she will.
I think if she continues on the trajectory that she's on right now, she will prove herself worthy of it, and hopefully she does well.
Absolutely.
And 7-footers, we're rooting for her. So
exactly.
We
I
hope
was
it
just
works
going to
out.
say that. Becky, we are rooting for you.
We are rooting for her.
And lastly, just to throw in another note, the NBA, a lot of people don't know this, but they are doing a basketball, I'm not using the correct terminology, but they're doing a basketball association program where they actually take retired players and they put them out into the league and to get them jobs and to transition them into real life. So like people should definitely look into that and see what the NBA is doing to transition these players into, you know, their post careers into having corporate jobs. I think it's incredible what they're doing, and kudos to everybody on that end.
Well, one of the reasons we love the association, right, and why we think it's the best league in the world, just because
Hands down.
Commissioner Silver, Adam does a great job. They're so forward thinking. I mean, it's just an amazing league. And they do great stuff. Very
far ahead of the other leagues, ahead of the times,
for sure.
And obviously you could tell we're obsessed, which is why we're here.
That's why we're here.
So let's move on. Another hot topic, and this is honestly one of my not favorite topics because I don't cheer it on, but it is something that needs to be talked about more. Fans in the NBA stands heckling players. We've had Russell Westbrook speak out about it.
Right.
Fans are yelling about their families. What gives fans the nerve to do that? To do that to other people when they wouldn't walk up to you on the street and do it to you on the street?
Definitely not. Well, here's sort of where we are with that, right? There's this sort of belief that fans have that because they paid money for a ticket, that they now have the right to say whatever they want to say to players. And my thing is, fans can yell and heckle and do whatever they want to do, but do not go and cross that line and talk about players' families and
call
get
them
personal.
Names and
uncalled for.
Yeah.
You want to root for your team, you want to say that, Russell, you stink your free throw. Fine.
That's fine.
Knock yourself out. And Russell will tell you, he doesn't care what you say about him. Like, that's fine. But there's a level and a line that these guys cross sometimes, a lot of these fans do, and it's unacceptable. And again, that ticket doesn't give you a right to do whatever it is that you want to do. And again, I say this all the time, I tweet this often, trust me, you guys think you're all big and bad, you don't want it with any of these NBA players. Trust me when I tell you,
Walk up to LeBron on the street.
As someone who's been in NBA locker rooms and who's seen these guys, you want no parts of these people. Trust me when I tell you, okay?
He actually wrote that on our preview notes.
I did, on our show notes.
I was like, what don't they want? I was like, tell me.
You don't want it. Even the smallest NBA guy, I'm thinking back to last season when IT was on the Celtics and it was during a regular season game. And he's on the bench, and you know the front row fans, they're right behind the bench.
Yeah.
And there was a fan 3 or 4 rows behind us, really giving them the business.
I think I remember this.
And IT turned around, and he said something that I'm going to change his language a little bit. He basically said, "You know I will end you." He said it much more colorfully than that. We can't go there. This is a family show, but you don't want it. No. And even 5'9" IT. Trust me, I've seen him up close too. You don't want it with him either, okay? Like, you need to remember and just be a human being, right? You wouldn't walk up to a random person on the street and cuss them out and start talking about their family and their moms. You wouldn't do that.
No.
Because someone would punch you in the face. So when you go to a game, cheer your team on, have a good time, tell them they stink, whatever, just don't cross that line.
Yeah, be respectful. I mean, I think we'll hear more about this talk, you know, as the league goes on and, you know, we see the behavior of fans and how much the players continue to speak out. Because now that the players are speaking out, it's becoming a real conversation.
And you get close to these guys, and because I've seen it. You know, fans, and I can touch them. Like, don't put your hands on them. Just don't.
No.
Like, just
you
leave them be.
Put your hands on anybody.
Like, why are you touching people? Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. And last but not least, the exciting times in our life. The NBA draft lottery is coming up.
Next Tuesday.
How exciting.
It's
and then
awesome.
We have the draft on the 21st of June.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be previewing that, talking all about that. How are you feeling going into the lottery?
I love the draft lottery. It's exciting because that's the moment where teams have hope. Right? It's like, oh my God, the ping pong balls are popping. I might do something great. We can get the #1 pick. And then those hopes are quickly dashed. A, when you don't win the lottery, and B, when your organization does something stupid. You know, we have the Phoenix Suns right now, I think, as
Who?
as the highest odds of getting the #1 pick. Look, if I'm a Suns fan, I have no hope that your front office is going to do the right thing and draft correctly. I mean, maybe they might.
Hey, there's a first time for everything.
I doubt it, but I will say this. It is that moment, though, where fans of franchises, you do have the glimmer of hope.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Those envelopes open, and then when you're and it's those last 3 teams, they're on stage and they're waiting to figure out what order these guys get called in. It's huge. So, you know, kudos to all the teams that didn't make the playoffs this year, who were you know, in the draft lottery. Look, we wish you the best. We hope, because look, in all seriousness, this is how you get better as a franchise. You draft that generational type talent, and those young players who are talented and who are on team-friendly contracts, and you build around that. That is your goal. You strike gold, right? You hope you get the next one. I don't know who that is yet, and the 7-footers, of course, will have a draft preview podcast.
Yeah.
You know, much later on.
We'll be with you guys throughout the entire draft, summer league, all year round, actually.
And we'll let you know what we're thinking in terms of who the top players are going to be coming out.
Yes.
I mean, obviously the DeAndre Aytons, the Luka Doncic's, you know, et cetera, Marvin Bagley's, Wendell Carter's, et cetera.
We'll get you guys
Trey
familiarized.
Young's. We'll get you familiar with all those guys. And we'll see, you know, who we think are going to be the next guys. Because again, as we wrap up, what I think NBA fans are realizing and what you see is, in order to win ultimately the big goal, which is the championship, you need that dude. Okay?
Right. You need a franchise changer.
You do. And unfortunately in the NBA, those guys don't grow on trees, right? We got 8 of them, maybe 9.
They're like the golden ticket.
Right. And you know, and Golden State has 2 of them on their squad, right? So I mean, it's very hard to you know, get one of those guys. But if you're lucky and you get one, you can build around it. That's going to change, unfortunately, your franchise. So draft lottery is next Tuesday. We're excited for that.
Absolutely, and that wraps up the end of Hot Topics for this week. We will see you guys next week in the conference finals. We have the Warriors.
And the Rockets, man.
That's right.
We're excited.
And then we have the Cavs against whoever wins this game behind us. C's or
the Celtics. Who knows? Who knows? Well, you know, look, I honestly think it's probably going to be the Celtics. But we hope the baby Sixers. And right now, look, game's close. So
game's close. We'll see you guys next week for our conference finals recap. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks for joining us.